Brady just said a bunch of stuff that should kind of scare the crap out of you. And as a prepper, the way I look at it is I can't do anything about Ukraine, Russia. But what I can do is prepare my own family and bubble that I live in properly to better outcome any emergency situation or prices or food shortages or supply line shortages that I can. So as a prepper, my philosophy on my brand new shirts is refuse to be a victim. And that's why I prep, because I refuse to be a victim. I don't want to rely on a government handout. I don't want FEMA. I don't want to have to ask my neighbors for food and water. I just want to be as self-sufficient as I can. And that's why I prep. So leading into my sheet, this is the pillars of prepping. And they are the topics that you should most concern yourself about when you're getting into prepping, or if you are already prepping, revisit these topics and make sure that you're solid. If you're not solid in any of these areas, make a list of your shortcomings and try to get better at that. The cool thing about prepping is if you do a little bit, it's better if you do nothing. Some people ask me like, well, I don't have a backyard to put a storage tank in. I'm like, if you don't have an area that's in the shade where you want to store water, do something. Put a water container up, throw a tarp over it. Having water that might not be drinkable is better than having no water at all. And there's always a way to retreat water if there's algae in it or anything like that. So let's get on to the pillars of prepping. This should only take about 20 minutes to get through. If you do have questions, just stop me and I'll go through it one at a time. And I did notice a typo in my very first thing. It's 3 minutes without air, 3 hours in a harsh environment, which is exposure, 3 days without water, and it should be 3 weeks without food. That's what the human body needs. So the first one is water. Water is the most important prep that you should be thinking of. And the easiest thing is, it's at the store right now to go buy. All right, if water becomes contaminated or shuts off, we're screwed. So 3 days without water, your organs begin to shut down. You will die of dehydration. You also could die if you are desperate and you drink contaminated water, which could lead to further dehydration by getting sick. So what can you do right now? And every single one of these topics has a what can you do right now. So the right thing you can do right now is go purchase bottled water from the store. There is no expiration date on bottled water. The FDA does not make a bottled water expiration date law. So as long as you store it in a cool, dark environment, off of the ground, because the ground does change temperatures, especially if you're storing it in the garage. You can have a really cold cement garage in the night, and then it'll be 100 degrees one day, and it heats up to that. So the temperature fluctuations, if you do, you could put down, I have 2x4s in my garage, and I just put water cases on them. So it keeps it off the ground. Again, the rule is 1 gallon per day per person. Have a minimum of 3 weeks of water stored in your house. For a family of 4, that's 84 gallons of water you would need for 3 weeks. It's a lot of water. But a gallon of water is $1, and if it can save your life, if your water is turned off. Otherwise, you're gonna need to know how to procure water from salt water, fresh water, and how to make it not salt or free of contamination. And there's a way to drink salt water, and it's very easy. It's basically what nature does. It evaporates the salt water into the clouds, and then it rains it back down on us. So you can build a distillery. You can buy distilleries online. A distillery will take salt water, evaporate it. It goes through coils, recondenses into pure fresh water. So there's a way you can drink salt water. Us being by the coast, we have a few gallons over there. So yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to get into the specifics of everything. I do. I built mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, easy. It's made out of teapot. Mostly, it's a teapot with 12 foot of copper coil hose. And it goes through a cooling mechanism and recondenses and drips. And the thing is about that, it's not energy efficient at all.
No.
But if you're desperate, and you have fire or you have gas stove or whatever,
That's
you can
what
do
I
it.
used home to making schnapps, from
Same, yeah.
From I put the ripe fruit, and that's I learned from my father. And we have the old, 70 years old things.
Yeah.
Not teapot. Actually, it's like a pressure cooker.
Mm-hmm.
I put there, and it's coming out, and
Yeah.
it goes through in cold water in a spiral.
Well, let me ask you
and
this.
dripping.
How do you think they did it on the Mayflower when they were at sea for many weeks?
Yeah.
They have all this water, they can't drink salt water, they distill it.
This-
Yeah. Or they could capture it when it rains, or there's
I think
several
you
other
can
ways. but-
buy small something and you can really.
Sure, yeah, not in
That's
1492 though, but yeah, now you can. So food is the next one, obvious. These are all very obvious, but think about them.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So FEMA recommends, and again, FEMA, take that with a grain of salt, 3 weeks of food at minimum. I would recommend storing 3 weeks of food in your house and start building a working pantry. We went over this before. A working pantry is basically food set aside that you don't touch unless you're out of your main food supplies. And the way I can describe that is if you're making dinner and you realize you don't have pasta in your cabinet, you go over to your working pantry and you take the pasta from there. And then you cook with that pasta, and then you write on your refrigerator's grocery list, I took a box of pasta that I need to replenish into my working pantry. This also helps you go through what you eat and it doesn't expire. So if you have tomato sauce, you have 20 jars of tomato sauce in your prepping pantry, your working pantry, and you're out of tomato sauce in your normal cabinet, your normal stash, you're taking from the front of that, using it, and then replacing from the back. So you can push your whole supply up. So you're continually refreshing it. Also, if you do create a prepping pantry, don't get these ideas that you're gonna eat, I don't know, spam or something. If you don't eat spam normally now, you're not gonna want it then.
No.
But if you eat tuna fish, or if you have canned chicken, or soup, or peaches, things like that. So what you can do now is create a list of things you like to eat. Next time you go shopping, ask yourself, how many times do I eat pasta in a week? Then you say, I eat pasta 2 days a week. So 2 times a week times 3 weeks, 6 boxes of pasta you're gonna buy. You're gonna put the 6 boxes on the shelf and not touch them until you're out of the pasta in your kitchen. That's the way you cycle through it. Another good thing is the emergency meal, the emergency buckets you can buy online, like Mountain, what do I have, Mountain House or ReadyWise. Those are, what?
There is under Patriots, you can buy the Patriots.
Oh, Patriots.
Yeah, that's another one too. There's a lot of them out there. Mountain House I think tastes the best, but yeah, that only requires water. It's just dehydrated food, so you don't have to be mixing stuff. You just have water, heat it up, dump it in there, stir it up. You can eat it right out of the thing. They're high in salt, they're high in preservatives, but again, you're not going to care if you're starving. Also, when you do get a pretty good working pantry going, I have an inventory list of every single thing I have in there. So I have a clipboard hanging from my working pantry, and it says pasta, 28 boxes. And I have a 6-month pantry at home now. I hit 6 months probably last night when I spent about $480 at Costco. Yeah, as soon as I saw, okay, Ukraine, better safe than sorry. I have a whole bunch of pasta, and I have on there pasta, 28 pounds or whatever. If I pull one from there, or if I pull 3 from there, if I'm cooking for a lot of people, I'll do an inventory, or every time I add something to it, I'll add okay, another box of protein bars, I'll put it on there. So I'm continually keeping an inventory of it. You look like you have a question.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
The next is another obvious one. Again, these are all obvious. Is shelter and clothing. Structure can be anything, or shelter can be anything. Your home, your car, your tent, your bug out location, or a shelter made from the elements, like lean-tos in the woods, if you know any bushcraft. Bugging in, meaning staying put in your house, is probably your best option in about 95% of any kind of catastrophe or emergency that we would face in this area. And if we do need to bug out, which means leave the safety of your home to a friend's house would be optimal, but if it's that bad and you need to get the heck out of Dodge and go camping in the desert because there's so much civil unrest or that stuff around here.
How are you even gonna get out if it gets to that
Well, that's the
point?
thing. That's why you want to bug in, because it's going to be. Did you see? There was Ukraine. If you look at the freeways and some of the news things, there was gridlock trying to get out of Kiev.
It's just like with the hurricanes
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there are certain things you would want to bug out for, and I have a list here. Fires, forest fires coming down, gas leaks, chemical spills, floodings, or volcanoes. All of these are very temporary, though. If there's a fire, it's not going to burn for a week in your backyard. It's going to burn and move on, or take your structure with it. So you're going to know if you need to come back, or if you can come back or not, very quickly, depending on the scenario. But if there's like a chemical spill, like a lot of times you see trains crash, derail, and there's some noxious gas blowing into the town. Again, how long can that situation last? Maybe 24 hours. So that's a temporary thing where you're going to leave your house, but you're going to be able to come back to it and all of your food stores and all of your preps. Clothing. Clothing can be the clothes in your closets or what you're wearing right now. If you notice, I'm wearing steel-toed boots, not open-toe flip-flops like Brady, because I would rather walk or have to fight or run in these than flip-flops. I told you I'll get you back. Yeah, you got shoes. So part of your shelter is your clothing, proper shoes, long pants, and your everyday carry. Everyday carry is what you have in your pockets at all time or in your purses, ladies, at all time. It could be a knife, it could be a lighter, it could be a firearm, could be a protein bar, it could be a bottle of water. So everything that you carry on your person, and I'm carrying a ton of stuff right now, and you wouldn't even know. I mean, I have flashlights, Leatherman, knife, a pen, wallet. My wallet has magnifying glasses in it, all of my passwords and bank codes and everything like that in case I can't get to my computer or phone, if that's out. Am I on Zoom? Also, everyday carry. I do have a permit for it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what can you do right now? Prep your home for an emergency with food and water. We went over that. Window coverings, if things get bad, you're going to go to the store and buy some plywood, some 2x4s to secure entryways and your windows. Those are areas that are vulnerable if it gets bad. If people are banging on your door who are less prepared than you, and they see you having a good time and you're fat and happy and they're starving and miserable, they're going to be like, whew. Yeah. Fire, super easy one. Fire. Easy but important. You'll need fire for lighting, to cook food, sterilize water, and to keep warm. It'll also help with communication. Another good thing of communication is a signal mirror. If you're lost and you see a plane flying overhead, they're not going to see you, but they will see you reflecting the sun up at that. So ask yourself, are you prepared for if the power goes out with fire? I'm on electric at my house. I'm not on natural gas, so if power goes out, I can't cook. So I have propane, I have camping stove, I have multiple ways to cook, boil water for safety and all that. What can you do right now? Easy, go out and buy matches, lighters, firewood and fuel. If you have a kerosene lamp, if you have propane grill, I would suggest going to Costco like I did last night and pick up 2 propane tanks, $30, $15 to fill, and they will hold stable for 30 years in those propane tanks. It's the most stable form of gas you can use.
And like how many hours of burn time is one thing?
So I have a generator. I just bought a generator, the video you shared. And it is a 7,000 watt generator, which would probably power every single person's house in this room unless you have a 6,000 square foot house. On half power, my generator, one propane tank will last 24 hours. That's at half power. Now, yeah, the big ones, that big. But you also got to think convenience versus survival. I wouldn't power my whole house on a generator. I would be very selective to what I was powering, mostly my refrigerator,
You have to have, yeah.
and charging cell phones, appliances, radios, things like that. You're not going to be running the dryer. You're going to be hanging along your clothes up in the backyard or on your railing or whatever to dry. Yeah, make sure you have enough things to do fire. And if you do have a fireplace, and I mean, it doesn't really apply here, but cold could be the difference between life and death. There are 20 times more deaths from cold each year, cold exposure, than to heat. And if you look at the majority of the world where we live, we're not on the solar, we're on the equator, we're in the warm parts. Cold will kill you much faster than heat. Next is communication and intel. Cell phones, walkie-talkies, emergency radio, pen and paper, and I'll get into that. Chalk, spray paint, handheld mirror, again to signal. Think about communication in multiple facets. Calling someone to let you know when you're home will be easy, when the grid is up, when your cell phone's powered, when the towers are still standing, and that EMP hasn't fried every piece of electronic equipment you own. What if cell service is down? How will you communicate with your family if you need to bug out and cannot reach them? Say you're at work, you cannot get home, you need to set up an emergency plan with your family to say, okay, if the house is not inhabitable, if it's blocked off by whatever emergency, our first meeting location is the fire department on Carlsbad Village Drive and the 5 freeway. Our second is the library over here. So establish a meeting place, basically a emergency place where you can meet with your family. I remember when I was young and my parents, this was before cell phones, we would go to like Disneyland or Great Adventure in New Jersey, and they would say, okay, you kids go run off, do what you want, but we're meeting by the roller coaster right here at 3 o'clock to get lunch. So that was, on a small scale, a meeting place, a rendezvous point. Also, Bofeng radio or emergency radio. You can get an emergency radio online for about $18. They do come with batteries, a hand crank, and solar. And this is communication is communication and intel is number one. Like I said, it's wars have been won and lost on communication and intel. Also, if you are home and your home becomes unoccupiable, is that a word? Inoccupable, and you have kids coming home from school or kids that are out or your husband or wife is gone, you're gonna leave a note somewhere. Okay, if I'm not home, there's a note underneath the back mat that says meet at rendezvous point. When you get to that rendezvous point and you plan on staying there for an X amount of time, but you've left a note for your husband or wife or kids to meet you there and you're not going, that's when you create a code. My name's Bill Rice, so I would put BR in spray paint on the side of the damn building, second location. So people up and they're like, BR2NDL, what does that mean? Bill Rice, second location. My family sees that, they know what it means. Health, fitness, and hygiene. This is a big one. Being in good health and good physical shape will greater your odds with dealing with everything in life. You might need to do a lot more walking and manual work, which, cars and electronics and gas-powered things make a lot easier for this. So if you're putting off the doctor, go to the doctor. If you're putting off the dentist, go to the dentist. Get your physicals done. If you have the opportunity to get LASIK now, get LASIK now, because I'll get into that. Because now is the best time. Tomorrow when it's more difficult, next year when it's more difficult. Playing catch up, preventative health is a lot better than treating something after it's already taken hold. Also, think about if you are in a grid down or power outage in your house. You and your family are going to create a lot of trash, human waste, things like that. The best way to get rid of it is burn it. You can get a burn bucket. It's just a steel canister, and you just throw it in there and burn it. Because you can't have 3 weeks of trash piling up when there's no more sanitation services. So that's another thing to think of. Also, what if the water does go out and you need to use an outdoor toilet? Your backyard will get pretty ugly in a few days. Walking 20 minutes a day will help greatly with physical health. Also make an emergency medical bag. I recently just put together a bag with every single over-the-counter drug you can think of. plus a lot of prescription drugs. I have everything from antibiotics in there. I got EpiPens. I got, what else? Yeah, so things that you can get now and have them on hand, because if things get bad with supply line issues or whatever. I mean, I went to Walmart yesterday. They didn't have any eggs and any chicken.
Wow.
None. I went to Costco last night. They had plenty of eggs, but not a lot of chicken. So get what you can when the getting's good. Just go to Walmart and spend an extra $20 on, aspirin, Advil, Benadryl, eye drops, whatever. And just put them in a bag at home, and then you're good. And then start getting, if you are on prescription drugs, ask your provider for a 3-month supply instead of a 1 month. They'll probably do it. Security, here's a fun one. Being able to defend yourself against the zombie apocalypse may be necessary. It's a necessary evil in emergency situations. When people become scared and desperate, they become savage, all right? So if you are starving, the difference between civility and anarchy is 9 meals. And if you don't eat for 3 days, you will do a lot of things that you might not have normally thought that you were capable of to steal your neighbor's food, especially if you have children and they haven't eaten in 3 days. You're gonna go next door and first you're gonna ask them, then you're gonna take it. You'll need to consider the security of your home, your family, your physical body, and your possessions when the last prepared become desperate. Fortifying your home with proper locks, boarding up windows and securing other entry points may become necessary. Using defensive weapons like firearms may also become crucial. Protecting your home may require less than lethal or lethal force. Carry pepper spray, a knife, a firearm, and other tools to protect you. Firearm is an equalizer. I'm pretty sure I could fight all of you women and probably win. But if you have a gun, that's the equalizer.
Yeah.
And if I'm seeing you with bread, walking home or something, and I got 3 kids, I'm gonna say, you know what? It's not in my nature, forgive me God, but I'm taking her bread. And that may become ugly. So what can you do right now for security? Get plywood to cover your windows. Get 2x4s to secure entryways. Preparing your home for a bug-in situation where you won't leave for several weeks. If things get really bad out there, and I'm talking fire in the streets, civil unrest, the police aren't coming, the emergency services aren't picking, 911's not working, you're gonna really have to be on your own looking out for yourself. You will need to bug in. Bugging in, you're not even gonna step foot out of your house to do this. Because you will be a target. You wanna make it look like nobody's home, you wanna board your windows up, and you wanna stay quiet. So, create a plan with your family and how you will guard your home. If you live alone, it's more difficult because we all gotta sleep. And if you don't have eyes on the street or your backyard at all times, that's when your neighbors or some marauding group of 20 or 30 people might be coming in. And a lot of times thieves look for the easiest target. A lot of times a car thief or someone who wants to burgle your car, they'll go in a parking lot and they're just gonna pull door handles. They're not gonna look in and smash it. They're just gonna see who left their door. It's like water. It goes to the path of least resistance. So if there's someone who takes a shot at a group, they're gonna say, okay, we're not gonna mess with that house. We're gonna go over here instead. So you'll need to sleep in shifts if there are a couple people. And purchase a firearm and ammunition if you haven't already. And the most important thing, learn how to use it. A firearm should be muscle memory when you pick it up, when you hold it, when you aim it. A lot of people I know have all these guns, and I ask them, when's the last time you went shooting? They're like, maybe 7-8 months ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I practice firearms at the range about 4 times a month, and I do dry fire drills weekly. Dry fire is just basically no ammunition in your gun. Practice drawing, practice aiming, because when you're in a shooting or in a stressful situation, you don't want to rely on thinking, you want to rely on muscle memory. So if you were stressed right now, if something just happened, I guarantee all of you can jump in your car, take the keys, go right in that ignition switch, turn it, put your seatbelt on, put it in drive and go. All right? If you've never done that before and you're a brand new driver and you got to get the hell out of here, and that's going to become more difficult. So you got to make firearms part of prepping and become familiar with it and make it muscle memory, because it's going to count when you're stressed. So when you're under extreme stress, it's 10 times harder to do anything. I mean, try writing an email. Have you ever gotten pissed off at someone and was trying to write them an email and you're like, oh. Picture that when you're shooting at someone or someone's shooting at you. So that's pretty much it. I do want to finish with, I did launch my new business last week. It is this business. And I left QR codes on Instagram and Facebook. And I do a Facebook video, not Facebook, I'm sorry. YouTube and Instagram. I don't mess around with fascist Facebook. So I have videos on there of a lot of things that I touched on in greater detail. And follow me, I'll appreciate it. And I am selling these shirts if you want to support me. And I have them in girls and guys. Yeah.
Very good.
The girls are scoop nets and like form fitting in the waist. The guys are just normal t-shirts.
You have it here.
Yeah, I have them here. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any questions?
Oh, yeah, because you probably could be Q&A. Let me get out of there.
Just a few. I don't think I cared. Any questions? Anyone? Anyone want to learn to shoot?
How many videos have you done or whatever?
4
Okay,
in 2
cool.
weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you a firearm instructor?
Yes. Yep. I started training people about a year ago.
I haven't shot a weapon of any kind since I was in the Army.
Really?
In 2000, or in 1958.
Yeah, just go to the range and just, shoot a box of ammo.
Yeah.
Get familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah.